We're going to talk about the physical and chemical properties and changes. So when we're talking about matter, it is important to know about the properties and the changes that some matter undergo. So the physical properties are the properties that can be observed or measured without changing the identity of the substance. For example, the shape, the color, the melting point, and the physical state, solid, liquid, gas, etc., are some of them. For example, if we pay attention to this golden nugget, we would see that the shape is amorphous, so it's not a cube or it's not a sphere. It's just like a blob. It's like a rough rock. The color is gold. The melting point would be that of gold, which is 1064 degrees Celsius, and the physical state is solid. So all of this make up the physical properties of this substance, this gold nugget. Other properties are measured more precisely. For example, solubility. Solubility is the maximum mass a solid substance can dissolve in 100 grams of solvent at a certain temperature. For example, we have salt's solubility. So at 25 degrees Celsius, salt, we can dissolve 39.12 grams in 100 grams of water in this case. Density would be another physical property. It is the amount of mass contained in a unit of volume. For example, if we continue with the properties of sodium chloride of salt, sodium chloride's density is 2.16 grams for every milliliter. And the last one, melting point, it is the temperature at which a substance goes from a solid to a liquid. In the case of sodium chloride salt, it is of 801 degrees Celsius. So for example, here we can see some of the physical properties of salt. We have the color, the lusters, the physical form. Hardness is another one. Density is the one that I just mentioned. Melting point, boiling point, solubility. So all of this are properties, are physical properties of salt. What other properties can we have? We can have boiling point. So if we had melting point, we can also have a boiling point, which is the temperature at which a substance starts boiling, which means going from a liquid to a gas at a normal pressure of 1 atmosphere. For example, for water, we know that water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. We can also have specific heat capacity, which is the amount of energy to heat up 1 gram of substance 1 degree Celsius. The most famous one maybe is the one of water. So water, you need 4.184 joules per gram per degree Celsius. So that is a lot, but it is a property of water. Viscosity is also a physical property, and it's between two layers of fluid, one that is moving and that the other isn't. Viscosity refers to the resistance of the static layer to the one moving. So those are other physical properties that we can see. For chemical properties is the ability of a substance to react. So it says the ability of a substance to change into a new substance, how it can be involved in a chemical reaction. For example, alkaline metals have the property to react violently in water, and they produce hydroxides. Metals can combine with oxygen to produce oxides, and hydrocarbons burn in the presence of air. So those are some chemical properties of this elements. So what are the changes? So the property is something that is inherent to it, right? So they don't do anything. You have the property to react, but it doesn't mean that you immediately do, right? If you do, it's not called a property anymore. It's called a change. So what are some examples of physical changes? For example, a change of state, if we're going from a solid to a liquid, from a liquid to a gas, from a gas to plasma, etc. For example, water boiling, or the freezing of water to solid ice. The change of appearance. Change of appearance has to do with solubility. So for example, one of the examples is dissolving sugar in water. That is a physical change. We can bring it back, right? If we evaporate the water, we can have our sugar back. A change of shape, for example, hammering a gold ingot into a gold leaf, drawing copper into copper wires, easier than that, cutting your hair, right? That is a change in shape. A change of size, for example, cutting paper into tiny pieces, grinding pepper into smaller particles. That is a physical change. We're not doing anything to the chemical structure of our element or of our compound or of our mixture, for example. Some examples of chemical changes. So let's see. Remember, it is a reaction. A chemical change is how available you are for a reaction. So one of the examples is silver tarnishes. So shiny silver metal reacts in air to give a black or grainy coating. That happens with silverware. For example, our grandmas had really nice cutlery made of silver. That happens also with silver jewelry. You have to clean it up in order to take away this black grainy coating. Methane burns. This is what we see in camping trips when you are burning methane for your boiler or something like that. It's a bright flame producing water vapor and carbon dioxide. Sugar caramelizes. So that's when we burn sugar in our stove in order to go from sugar to caramel. And iron rusting is also when we put it in air combine it with oxygen to form an orange red rust. That happens when we have iron nails, when there's a very, very old cars, or maybe in a window, or for example, we can see a lot of rust in seaside towns, like the protections for the windows, or maybe a door, or maybe a shed. So those are the physical and chemical changes that they can undergo.